Hey there, it's me Eden. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and visit my Patreon page for early access, link in the description. The world around us dissolved into light and color, swirling in a chaotic dance. When it settled, we were standing in a hospital room. I recognized it immediately. It was the room from my dreams, the one where Alexis had sat alone, staring at a chart. "This is where it started," she said, her voice quiet. I watched as a version of Alexis appeared, her hands trembling as she read the chart. I could see the fear in her eyes, the way her shoulders sagged under the weight of the news. "You think I regret this," Alexis said, her voice pulling me back. "The procedure, the risks, the sacrifices. But I don't. Because even with all the pain, all the loss, I got to live as my true self. And that's worth everything." I turned to her, my chest tight. "But it destroyed you," I said. "It destroyed me." "No," she said firmly. "What destroyed us was the fear, the shame, the unwillingness to embrace who we are. The timeline didn't break because of me, it broke because you tried to erase me." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. The scene shifted again, and we were back in my apartment. Alexis let go of my hand, her gaze steady. "You have a choice to make, Alex," she said. "You can keep running, keep hiding, and live a half-life. Or you can accept me, accept us, and finally be whole." I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "I don't know if I can," I admitted. "You can," she said softly. "But you have to want to." She stepped back, her form beginning to fade. "The choice is yours," she said, her voice echoing as she disappeared. The next few days were a blur. Alexis's final words, "The choice is yours," echoed in my mind like a haunting melody, refusing to fade. My apartment felt suffocating, the walls pressing in as if even my space was forcing me to confront what I was avoiding. I didn't sleep much. When I did, the dreams were disjointed, filled with flashes of Alexis's life, as though she was still trying to show me something. A moment of joy here, a crushing disappointment there. Each dream felt more vivid, more urgent than the last. I would wake up drenched in sweat, gasping for air, her voice whispering, "It's not too late." The photo was gone, but its absence was almost worse than its presence. I checked the drawer where I had kept it at least a dozen times, as if it might reappear. It never did. Yet, in its place, I began noticing other things. Objects I didn't remember owning, memories that didn't feel quite right. One morning, I woke up to find my closet filled with clothes that weren't mine. Dresses, skirts, and blouses hung neatly alongside my shirts and jackets. A pair of heels I didn't recognize sat next to my sneakers. For a moment, I thought I was still dreaming. But the cold tile under my feet and the faint hum of the refrigerator reminded me this was real. I called Harriet. "I need to talk to you," I said, my voice shaking. "Of course," she replied, her tone calm but concerned. "Come over." When I arrived at Harriet's apartment, she greeted me with a warm smile that did little to ease the storm inside me. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, gesturing for me to sit. "Maybe I have," I muttered, running a hand through my hair. Over coffee, I told her everything, the glowing photo, Alexis's reappearance, the dreams, the clothes. I left nothing out. She listened intently, her expression shifting between curiosity and concern. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair, her brow furrowed. "Alex, it sounds like you're at a crossroads," she said. "That's what Alexis said," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. Harriet nodded. "And she's right. You've spent so much time trying to control the narrative, trying to erase what you think doesn't belong. But maybe it's not about erasing. Maybe it's about integration." "Integration?" I repeated, the word foreign and strange. Accepting all parts of yourself, she explained. The Alex who stands here now, and the Alexis who lived in another thread of time. You can't keep them separate forever. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. That night, back in my apartment, I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection. The clothes in my closet, the whispers in my dreams, the ghost of Alexis, they all pointed to one thing. I had to face her, to face myself. I pulled out one of the dresses, its fabric soft and unfamiliar under my fingers. Slowly, hesitantly, I put it on. It felt strange, foreign, but also right. I sat at the vanity, my hands trembling as I applied makeup for the first time in years. When I finally looked up, I didn't see Alex or Alexis. I saw both. For the first time, the reflection didn't feel fractured. The following morning, I received an unexpected call from Dr. Larson. Alex, he said, his tone urgent. We need you back at the facility. What's going on? I asked, my stomach sinking. There's been an anomaly, he said. It's related to the timeline. And it's tied to you. I arrived at the facility that afternoon, the weight of the past few weeks heavy on my shoulders. The moment I stepped into the control room, I felt it, a tension in the air, an undercurrent of something just out of reach. Dr. Larson led me to a monitor displaying a live feed of the timeline. It was a chaotic mess of overlapping threads, each one flickering and fading like static on an old TV. This is what's happening to reality, he said grimly. It's unraveling. And the source is you. Me? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Your dual existence, he explained. Alex and Alexis. The timeline doesn't know how to reconcile them. It's creating fractures, ripples that are spreading. What do we do? I asked, the enormity of the situation pressing down on me. Dr. Larson looked at me, his expression heavy. You have to choose, he said. Alex or Alexis. One must remain, and the other must go. The room was silent, save for the soft hum of the machines around me. Dr. Larson's words hung in the air like a guillotine poised to drop. You have to choose. Alex or Alexis. One must remain, and the other must go. I stared at the screen, the tangled web of timelines flickering and shifting in chaotic loops. Each thread was a fragment of a possibility, some rooted in my life as Alex, others undeniably tied to Alexis. It was all so overwhelming, so impossibly vast. Why does it have to be this way? I asked, my voice barely audible. Dr. Larson folded his arms, his face a mask of grim determination. Because the universe operates on balance. Right now, you exist in two states, two lives. That's causing instability. The timeline can't sustain the contradiction. But they're both me, I said, my voice cracking. That's exactly the problem, he replied. I sank into the nearest chair, my mind spinning. Every memory I had as Alex, every dream I'd lived as Alexis, every fragment of both lives, they all felt real, tangible, important. How could I possibly choose between them? Isn't there another way? I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. Dr. Larson hesitated, then sighed. There might be, he said slowly. But it's risky. What is it? He gestured to the timeline on the monitor. We could attempt a full integration. Combine the threads of Alex and Alexis into one cohesive existence. It's unprecedented, and we have no guarantee it'll work. The process could collapse entirely, leaving nothing behind. Nothing? I echoed, my stomach turning. He nodded. No Alex. No Alexis. Just nothing. Harriet was waiting for me in the facility's small lounge when I emerged from the control room. She stood as soon as she saw me, her face a mixture of worry and determination. "What did they say?" she asked. I explained the situation as best I could, though the words felt clumsy and inadequate. By the time I finished, Harriet was pacing, her brow furrowed. "They're asking you to erase part of yourself," she said, her voice trembling with anger. "That's not fair." "None of this is fair," I said, running a hand through my hair. "But what choice do I have?" Harriet stopped pacing and turned to me, her eyes fierce. "You're stronger than you think, Alex. And so is Alexis. If anyone can survive this integration, it's you." Her words struck a chord deep within me, but the fear remained. "What if it doesn't work?" I asked. "Then at least you tried," she said simply. The next few hours were a blur of preparation. The integration process required me to enter the same chamber where I had first unraveled the timeline. The spherical walls of the machine seemed to hum with latent energy, as if the universe itself were holding its breath. Dr. Larson and his team explained the procedure in clipped, clinical terms, but their voices felt distant, like echoes in a dream. My focus was on the choice I was about to make, a choice to embrace all of myself or risk losing everything. As I stepped into the chamber, Harriet appeared at the entrance, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Whatever happens," she said, her voice steady, "you're not alone." Her words stayed with me as the hatch closed, sealing me inside. Please subscribe my channel for the next part. And visit my Patreon page for early access.